Oh, we're live. Hey, everybody. My name is Sky. This is Marabella. Welcome to the Raw Magic podcast. We are both raw vegans and we do different topics, not so much just on the food that is raw and amazing, but on all the other benefits you get, like feeling amazing, seeing into different realities, different dimensions. And this topic is realms of dissociation, shamanism, and mental health. Hey, Marabella.
Hey Sky, how are you?
I'm so good and I'm so excited for this topic.
This is such a great topic, shamanism and I think Sky and I have been both called shamans. Oh my gosh. And don't you feel like it's something that calls to you? Like it's something that you don't aspire to be, but you just are. Like it grabs you, shamanism grabs you. Yeah.
Yes. And it's not even a matter of, because we were talking earlier, it's not even a matter of being a health coach or a guide or a spiritual guide like you do. It's more about what happens before that occurs, where you're not conscious of it, but you're constantly told that's what you do. I feel like it's this natural ability. I feel like everybody, I say everybody can do it and has the calling, but this may not be their lifetime to actually be a shaman as per se. And I thought I would just briefly read out the definition from Wikipedia. So shamanism is a spiritual practice that involves a practitioner, who is the shaman, interacting with the spirit world through altered states of consciousness, such as trance. The goal is usually to direct the spirits or spiritual energy into the physical world for the purpose of healing, divination, and to aid the human being in some way. So
yes, because I feel like we are spiritual beings and we're in this body, and the way that we travel earth is in a body, but we're really spiritual beings. And so I feel like for every problem or anything you're going through, there is a spiritual answer for it, a spiritual reason. And so to really get to that, you have to sort of leave this world, like the 3D world that you can touch, and you have to search for answers in a higher way. And I feel like a shaman can help you get to those answers, get to that healing, get to your, we always talk about our intuition and tapping into nature, and a shaman can help guide you in that direction, getting deeper, healing, answers, intuition, all these things.
Yes. Now, I think back to before. So a huge thing that happened for me was where in 2017 I dissociated. And I want to preface here that the only difference between somebody having a psychic experience or phenomenon or a psycho or psychiatric one is where they're born. So if you're born in a tribe that's more isolated, or even more, I guess, Eastern practices where this is well known, even European, I guess anywhere in the world, if your household is more spiritually inclined, I actually see this beautiful little boy on TikTok who taps into different realms and different entities, and his mum is so supportive and they have a huge following. And we're talking about a child here, so they can't sit down and study or even read this amount of things. But that's very nurtured. Okay. And the way the society is, it doesn't want that. So usually many children are just drugged. I was on high amounts of medication. It's called all sorts of things, right? And I do want to focus here, we're not medical practitioners. So if you have mental health issues or you do feel you need help, you should seek help. Because the other thing is, if it's not nurtured, it creates panic and distress and destruction, right? So I think if people's visions or the way they see things is nurtured, a person can safely travel through a crisis. But you get like me when I dissociated, and you're basically left locked up in a room on the floor, go to the toilet on the floor. And the more you speak the truth, the more you're injected, the more you're drugged, and the more you're tortured, really. And that to me, the most enlightened or attached to spirit I was, maybe too much so and unprepared, was during that time in my life. Right now I'm much more grounded, okay? But it really speaks volumes as to what can happen to a person if the situation's nurtured
Mhm.
versus but it's like anything, right? If somebody has something happen and someone starts telling them that's bad, you're wrong, that's bad, you're wrong, that's over and over again, it becomes
Yes.
reinforced that it's a problem. So um yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. There's a culture called the Hmong culture. And when I can't remember what it is at the moment, but it's something that um, in the United States, if we were to have it, we would be considered like we would have to seek medical treatment for it. But in the Hmong culture, they have this, I don't want to call it a disease because they look at it like it's a blessing. And
Yeah.
they look at it like the people that have it are absolutely, closer to the divine, and they're regarded very well, like they're held in high regard. And here, I wish I could remember the name of it now. It's like slipping my mind. But um, if we were to have it, we would be highly medicated. And so
Yes.
it is just where, and so there's a book called "And the Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down," and half the chapters are made, like the first chapter's about this culture, the second chapter's about the disease and how the doctors treat it. So it's really, really, really interesting. And I read it in college, and it's so interesting how different um, mental disorders, we would call them disorders, mental disorders, and other cultures are like, oh, they are shamans. They are,
Spiritual awakening, right? You're having a spiritual awakening. So you
yeah.
split, right? And it's not, is it really that different? I don't know. I've had pretty deep dissociations being scheduled for 10 months in psychiatric hospitals. So
Oh,
is it any different than a child who speaks of, I'm going to go outside and play with the fairies? A parent doesn't bat their eye, and the child is skipping around playing with leaves.
yeah.
Many children have imaginary friends, and society says that's okay, right? But you get
Mhm.
an adult who goes deep into trauma, and if guides present themselves, or even if it is just the brain creating different structures in the reality to help them through, it's suppressed. And the one thing I can tell you about medication is, if you're in a really bad way and you feel you need it, that's what it's there for. But you do not process any trauma when you are drugged. I was on SSRIs and amphetamines. I think there was a list written the other day, and every single, I forget how many families of medication, all the antipsychotics, then they put me on when I was put in the psychiatric hospital, diazepam, all these sort of things. They keep you happy with where you are and don't let the true emotion come up. And in my experience, the reason mine exploded into being a fractured reality is because it was suppressed for so long. Now, I was in a lot of pain, and I take full responsibility for the first part of it, because I wasn't scheduled for the first part of my life. Psychiatrists present drugs. I take them, I see the risks. So that's on me. But it's really interesting that I didn't process anything. And even it takes till deep into my healing journey to turn around and go, the most connected to being able to see a reality different to this, which as now I'm more grounded, I think, what a gift. Like,
Yeah.
it's so scary because I didn't have, imagine I went through that and had a shaman. Like,
Oh,
imagine I every day and was out grounded in nature. I wasn't locked up in a concrete jungle with bars, things being thrashed, security guards throwing people around. That wasn't happening. I wake up with someone who was like so excited to hear what I saw. And I just think
yes.
the world could be such a different place. Like, and I've said this before, is if you're going to lock people up, not for crimes, but for seeing different things and for being different ways, why
Mhm.
not lock them up in a garden full of fresh food.
Oh,
Like that,
yeah.
like if you're forced to take something, I promise you, and I don't even need studies to see this. If you let
Yes.
people having to at there, because people, you find them wanting to ground by putting their hands, including myself, in the dirt, because you just want to connect to something, feed
Yes.
in the ground. So you do that. You pick your tomatoes, your carrots, your watermelon,
Mhm.
and they're going to scream and kick. They're going to get really angry, right? But they're doing that anyway. Like, and instead
Right.
shutting them down, it will force them to experience, I feel, what they're experiencing in a, just, you'll start to see light in front
Yes.
of dark. So I definitely, and I've this has happened to me multiple times, and until I got I came out of a scheduled psychiatric stay again as a vegan, as a whole food vegan. It was not until I went raw
Wow.
that you see, how would you say it? You see, you're present. So you are so present that you don't have
Yeah.
to constantly deal with so much. So I just put a lot out there then.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. It's so amazing. And I was explaining, Sky, I was explaining you to my daughter and how you've had gone through several surgeries. Like you don't have hardly, do you have any organs? Like you have most of your organs were taken out.
First off,
And
I will say that there is, I think it's women have 85 organs and men have 86. I think that's the way it goes. Or, yeah, I think that's how it is. And so I've had 8 removed, but I've
ah,
had some pretty major ones on the front of me removed. Well, I
oh
guess
my,
they're all there. So that's, I've had a lot removed. Sorry, yes, I'll clarify that.
yeah. And that you've healed yourself with the raw food. Like that's not a light statement. You healed yourself with raw food. Like that is, I mean, you tried um, medication, you tried self-numbing, you tried uh, all these different things. And what healed you was the raw food. Like that is so huge. So I was like really stressing that to her that you healed yourself with the raw food. Like, I don't think like that because that is like so amazing. I mean, it's nature. It's like put on the earth for us. Why isn't that the first thing that we go to? Why not?
Yeah, I think also what, because a lot of people go, no, raw foods didn't heal you, it was your body. And I think what that did it, and yes, that's great, that's idealistic, but the
Yes.
reality we live in is so dense, and we come from such consumption, and we're
Mhm.
so toxic. Sometimes we need physical light packages to teach us because we're so far from it. Of course, you can
Yes.
go into the jungle and drink water, or start drinking water and water fast and get there. But I feel like it's the other thing, people might be like, I can eat cooked foods, more natural cooked foods, and I'll do some thinking my way out of it. I just think that most people, and it's not just our fault in this generation, it's generation after generation after generation of teaching, of genes being programmed a certain way based off like epigenetics and the food that we've eaten, and
Yeah.
that we need a teacher, which essentially is pure God. So, like, I think all humans in some way, we have like yin and yang. I really think that when it comes to plants, they're pretty much, if you eat the fruit or some green leaves in moderate amounts, they're pretty pure. And that's
Yeah.
hard to find on this planet. Most things, like someone was arguing the other day, you eat too much of this and it's toxic. And I'm like, well, if you eat too much McDonald's, you can actually get quite violently ill. You'll get digestive issues. If you start eating too many bananas or green leaves, usually it will just be your body's too full. It will literally just bring it back up. And anytime I vomited on the raw vegan diet, which is not very often,
Oh
there's no
my
acid.
God.
There's none of that. I had this memory of when you vomit up cooked food or something, the
Ugh,
acid, you
so
just bring it
horrible.
up. Yeah, it's too much, you
Yeah.
bring it up. So I've gone a bit
Yeah.
off there. I feel
Yeah.
like in a world that's just chaotic, toxic, and hard for us to really get a grasp on goodness, it's a good place to start. Is these like little packages. You've got like something growing naturally, and you've got something that is literally like coming down as source, really combining and making little packages that we can learn a lot from. And I think I was
Yes.
associated unwell, being homeless, lost, liver failing, so many symptoms. In fact, when I drank again, I would bleed from my ears, the corners of my eyes,
Oh,
I just was so inflamed. I could not, there's no way even the best meditation course could let my brain with that toxicity think its way out. But if you put something physical in, I feel like it's doing a job that I think as humans are not really capable of doing at this stage.
yeah.
Yeah.
And and having raw is a really great place to start, because if you overeat a banana, you get sick of the taste. You get sick of it and you don't want any more. But
Yes.
when you have your medication, they want you to take it even if like you're throwing up or whatever. But it's a great place to start because you are putting the natural vibrations, the frequencies of the fruits in your body, and that just allowing it to just make that shift in you is so positive and so pure. And I know, even, I mean, I think the shaman, we were talking about shamanism, just circling back to that, but the shaman shows up in your life when you're ready, or you become the shaman of your life. And eating raw food really helps you to do that because it clears out the toxins, connects you in with spirit. Like, I just feel more psychic, more connected, more open hearted on raw. And um, I feel like changing your diet or adding as much raw in as you can. I know some people like to eat their certain ways, and everyone's different, so I honor everyone's path. But just adding as much fresh and raw as you can really helps, so you can tune into like your own inner shaman. Your thoughts start to change. Um, Ideas come to you. You get downloads. Amazing.
Yes. And look, I'm a raw food health coach, but what I feel this podcast talks about is more important than anything that I've ever learned, that I've ever studied at university, anything, because it is the spirit that heals. And the
Yeah.
gift comes is not just taking away a symptom. So most
Mhm.
people, and the reason, if you're called to watch this particular podcast, the difference is I think you have to be at a certain level of healing and consciousness to understand it. And that's not saying that we're all, I mean, I've been at totally different realms, right? Is a lot of people in the reality that we live in is such fear driven and still very trapped. They're symptom relief seeking. So they're,
Yes.
and I get that. And there's nothing wrong with wherever you're at.
Yeah.
But like talking about how much music healed me, the self-love, the
Oh,
being on the ground. But many
yeah.
people, because I think back to when I was at my sickest, full of drugs, full of surgery, laying on a lounge, being given protein shakes or bed every day. If you told me this, I'd be like, what the F are you talking about? Like,
Exactly.
wasn't at the stage to take in, and the food showed me this. I can't deny it of myself, because eating that food, as long as I was on, it doesn't work without being in nature as much as possible. It reveals itself. And that you can't, I don't believe, it's not that I want to sell it to people, but it's
Yeah.
harder to on such a topic. And when it comes to
Yeah.
shamans basically is anybody who's helping you through your spiritual crisis. And I think
Mhm.
about the most beautiful thing about being in psychiatric units is not the doctors and it's not the nurses. The people that got me through are the people that are around you, because they're all dissociating in their own ways. But the interesting thing is the people that tend to come back in for day visits and things like that, who have left, they've come through and left, you notice they come and sit with people and give them crystals and
Oh,
I think how a shaman doesn't have to present themselves, you know, living out in the desert with a teepee
No.
and smoke up, like make a ceremony, is
Yeah.
if you look for good, good
Uh-huh.
is in my darkest times. Another thing, I don't know whether I've told you this before. So the sad thing about public psychiatric hospitals is people can break teeth, collapse, all sorts of things, and you kind of just left. If someone decides to do something, but even doctors don't want to come down, medical doctors, and see psych patients. It's like they just don't. It's a left place. It's like it's almost like the in between the world. So you're not dead, but you're not really alive. Okay, you're not even treated in that sort of way. So I had I was only 37 kilograms. I'm 5'7.5", so that's very skinny. They're still giving me protein shakes, and the food in there is disgusting, and they've drugged me up to the eyeballs. But because I have dumping syndrome, because my stomach's missing, I used to just collapse. And nurses, when people collapse, don't step forward, they step back. And I get it, because a lot of people in psychiatric units are locked up against their will, especially women become very aggressive. And a lot of these nurses and doctors have been hit multiple times. So
Wow.
any irregular movement, they're all trauma. It's a whole mess, right?
Yeah.
So you collapse and they step back. The
Oh
only
my
people who step forward are other patients. The amount of patients who come in and try and help each other, which is
yeah.
lovely. But I used to collapse, not just inside, but when I got, you get like 15-minute breaks where you can go outside if they allow you, if you're well enough. And I used to collapse outside. And the most interesting thing is, as I collapsed, I'm like, God, I'm going to die. Like I don't even know how I'm going to move my limbs to get myself back up, because I was so weak, so sick, so disoriented. And every single time, flowers would appear, and
Oh,
not in like physically. So what had happened, this is how you start to see how the world works. So
yeah.
maybe half an hour earlier, someone got delivered flowers, and a few flowers may have fallen out of the bunch onto the floor. And I'd
Oh
turn
my
my head and
gosh.
I'd see, and I'd be like, see, that's it. Everything isn't in like, like it's like I see everything for the bigger picture now. Like everything is,
Yes.
and I'd go and I'd eat. Sometimes I'd be able to reach them and I'd grub them, and I'd be like, I can.
Oh,
And it happened outdoors as well. And the flowers I'd see, it happen, I'd collapse. It's called dumping syndrome. You get a blood sugar spike, you get heart palpitations, you get pot tachycardia, boom.
oh
And
wow.
um, and if I was outside and it happened, I'd turn my head and I'd think of people who are spiritual would come to me already on their spiritual journey, and they'd come with flowers in my mind, and I'd turn my head and you'd see the little yellow daisies, in the grass that would pop in,
Yes.
dandelions, I think they're called.
Oh,
And
the
I'd be like,
dandelions.
and I
Yes. Yellow
the flowers,
ones. Yeah.
the flowers. And
Yeah.
there is not one time for some reason, or sometimes I'd fall down and someone unwell would probably not even be conscious how much they helped me, come over and give me a flower, just a single flower.
Oh,
Trend in the ward that every time we left, we'd gather some flowers and come in and give them to nurses or to each other. And so to me,
yeah.
that is human spirit. And like
Oh,
it's and I put little bits of flowers, because you go outside, I put it in my hair. I just wanted nature on me during
yes.
this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's
So
quite incredible.
beautiful. Just like the little things bring so much joy, and you found that. Sky, you're a shaman.
Yes,
You're
oh,
absolutely bringing healing to everyone. I love that story so much. Oh my gosh. Super special.
yeah. Yeah, I think when it comes to being a shaman, there's also, I mean, you can speak on your work as well, but a lot of, before I became that, I was always the person out, even though I was really sick, like the wounded healer. Every time something went wrong, people would say, everyone would say, from my sister to my friends growing up, Sky can fix it. Sky can
Yeah.
fix it. I'd been through so much. And then
Yes.
a good psychiatrist I saw, who didn't just prescribe things for me, but spoke to me for a full hour, would always say, Sky, the type of person you are, you would be the person that sits outside the village that people come to, um,
Yes.
it was quite amazing when you able to speak to someone who has so much education, but also understands he's only applying it to the principles in the way the world is now. Like, it's not that long ago, or even there's tribes that still have it, that if you can see different realities or different things, you can guide and help and support people through what they're going through. Why are they seeing it? Why is this
Mhm.
coming? How are they in? And so,
Mhm.
and it's really seeing the good in the dark. So, but I'm going to let you speak a bit. I've
Yeah.
spoken on mine,
Oh,
but you,
it really
so
is like seeing the good in the dark, and I thought of the book "And the Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down." It was about the Hmong, people and who had epilepsy, and how their seizures were treated. They were treated very like royalty, whereas here we medicate, medicate, medicate. So back to that, it popped into my head as you were speaking. But, yeah,
because imagine
and so
that, right? Imagine somebody starts having seizures and guided
right.
elders and shamans guided them
Yes.
what to, because it'd be very stressful. I've had seizures. I FND. I was
Oh
not
my
epileptic
gosh.
seizures, having seizures all the time. Imagine you
Uh-huh.
were guided to have visions and,
Yes.
stuff that people see with migraines and stuff. But I'll let
Yeah.
you talk, because you do guided
Oh,
regression and
yeah.
different forms. That's what you do.
A lot what's coming up that when we're talking about it is a lot of fear that comes up. So anyone that's different or diagnosed with a certain illness, there's a lot of fear around it because a lot of times there's not a lot of education around it, and we are afraid of it, where other cultures kind of like welcome this in, try to discover it. Maybe somebody that's a little bit different, instead of being afraid of them and putting them in a home, they welcome them with open arms and say, what can we learn from you? Like, what can we learn? And I was just curious, after knowing what you know now, and after all the things that you have gone through, if you were like, what would you do differently if you were going to put together a type of a home for people that were having mental breakdown or mental disorder, or I don't know what people go through?
Sure. I would, because basically I was going through one of the worst when I found raw food, and I was spending 16 hours a day outside. I feel like I would have a place that you had no phones, very little contact with family, and people who had been through very similar things, like all the people I do podcasts with, but especially someone like you around. Um, and then I would have a garden full of amazing foods and rooms that people could go to, but predominantly the more time spent outside,
Yeah.
waterfall, oceans,
Oh,
just kids
yeah.
in it, eating the freshest food. In fact,
Yes.
and this would have to be something that people chose by choice.
Uh-huh.
I think, but if I was locking people up, I would do the exact same, but there'd just be a
Mhm.
barrier around them. But I don't think that's the way, right? I think you have to be loved into health,
Mhm.
into true awakening, but have people around that they could talk so freely about what they were seeing. But the perception of people in psychiatric units, when they talk about what they're seeing, it's so negative. It's
Yeah.
so negative. The voices are bad today.
Mm.
Um, I I didn't sleep last night. It's very common when you go through this, not sleeping. And when I did that and spent a lot of time outside looking at the moon, full of raw foods, I was
Oh.
so loved and
Oh.
supported and whole. And every time I came inside, it was like I was just chopped off again. And I believe there's levels to alchemism, right? Where as you heal, you have a strength in this reality to come away from God and no, it's not come away, but not be so needing to be bathed constantly. You can
Mm.
walk. It's like a child, right? When you're going through this psychiatric situation or dissociation, or different realms, is you want to be near, like you're like a child. You want to be near your mother, which is
Right.
Mother Earth, and the Father, like the sun and the moon, as much as you
Yes.
can. As you grow spiritually, you can wander away a bit, right? So you can go in
Yes.
more, you can do more studying, you can
Uh-huh.
all that sort of thing. But I would have somebody with guides, as many guides as I could get, have people doing all of that. And I guess I think it's so important to, even if it seems messy at the start, because a little child is going to be messy in a garden, right? Like, what
Right.
food do you want? Like, someone will help them prepare their meals, but do
Uh-huh.
you want tomatoes? Do you want the watermelon? Do you want some greens? Do you want nuts and seeds? Do you like all that sort of thing? And then help them, the guides like help them prepare. And because to this day, what I learned when I was basically almost living outdoors, I wasn't technically, because I did sleep when I slept, I come inside, but 16 hours a day outside with
Oh,
fresh food, the less and disconnected from everybody is
yes.
something, is probably the greatest teaching tool that I've had. And I did want to just also say, someone
Yes.
said, I'm so sorry, Matteo
Oh.
said today, unfortunately, I've been diagnosed with a tumor. I'm so sorry to hear that. But when we go through, how
Mhm.
I see things now is the and the journey that you go on to heal that, I mean, is up to each person, is the perception that I have of reality from when I've had my darkest disease is and can be looked at as just visiting a different realm, because that's what we needed to do during this lifetime. And
Mhm.
there is a lot of fear around it,
Mhm.
and that, if we talk to spiritual guides or shamans about how we got here, it's more
Mhm.
about you expressing uh, how this happened, because a lot of the time we get a lot of toxicity in our body, and the body's job, it's doing an amazing job because it wants to lock it off. If it doesn't lock it off, the poison will get in all sorts of organs and harm you. So if you can lock, what the body does is lock in the poisons, and the more locked in it is, the more it thinks it's not going to harm you. But the perception we have when we're in this can help unlock different parts of ourselves to free the self. So I'm not saying not get modern day treatment. I'm not saying not look after yourself. You just talk to someone. But how did we get here? Why is there so much toxicity in our body? And things like that is great as well.
Yeah. So I'm sending you lots of love and lots of blessings for your healing, and I will think of you and I'll send love and healing throughout my days. And something that you can do also, I don't know where your tumor is, but you can look in a book by Louise Hay. It talks about symptoms. It talks about like uh, you can look up tumor, or you can look up maybe I'm not sure if it's in your tummy or where it is. You can look up uh, the symptoms. I can't remember if it's A to Z symptoms, but it's by Louise Hay, and you can look that up and see kind of maybe what might have been causing it, and kind of look within yourself. And because our bodies talk to us, our bodies, every time we talk to our body, it believes us. So there's so many different ways that you can talk yourself and figure out what exactly you need to do to heal yourself as well. Did you find the book? Are you looking for it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's actually a symptom list here. There's actually a page. Wow, I'll
Oh,
link this for you guys. It's actually a page written up here that says uh, all shingles. Well, I've had shingles. It says waiting for the other shoe to drop. You've got fear, tension, you're too sensitive. Somebody's made a list here. I was looking for the book. It's called Emotional. I'll get that. Let me drop this list for you guys. Emotional and mental causes of illness. This is the list by Louise Hay,
yes,
which,
this is great. Yes.
okay, this
Yeah.
will help you guys, but let me find what the actual book's called. So this
So
is a great,
when a person goes raw or changes their lifestyle, change your diet, exercise, all the things, different things. Okay. Once you start on that journey, you become more aware, and you become aware of the way that you're speaking to your body, and a lot of emotions and thoughts, they get stuck and lodged in our body, causing physical discomfort and pain. And so as you change and you cleanse your body with healthy foods, you begin to heal. So it's a huge chance for you to heal and for you to be okay, is all I'm trying to say. And so looking at a list like that is super, super helpful, to kind of see where you're at, what's going on in your body, what that could possibly mean. And another thing that I like to do with my clients, so I am a hypnotherapist. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist, and I do past life regression. I also do energy healing. Is I like to hear about a person's life and what's going on in their life, like what their relationships are like, what's going on for them. I do EFT tapping as well. Um, Kind of getting to what's going on and what maybe feelings and emotions that you're holding in that you are not looking at. Sometimes just looking with truth at a situation can really help, even if it's super hard to do. Um, and a walk in nature is so amazing. Like going out in nature barefoot, earthing, kind of trying to come into more of a calm state is so, so good.
Okay, thank you for subscribing. But here, it looks like it's called Heal Your Body. Would that be the one?
Yes, yes, that's
Okay.
it.
So I was reading through, it says that it will say the metaphysical cause for the disease that
Yes.
you've got. But the actual list that I've tagged up here, I've posted in the comments, but I know some people on Facebook can't get the comments. So this list, I've put the website here, is actually just a list, which I could show you guys as well. So you can look up any symptom and it says why you've got it. Which I assume has come from the book. Somebody summarized all of the different symptoms, but it's all like what the most apparent thing to me was when I finally healed was that God had already, and when I say God, I don't mean it in a religious sense. People can have religion as well as God. God to me is Marabella, myself, the wall. It's everything. It's
Mm-hmm.
source, it's light, it's all God. And then you realize that I'm God. It's
Yeah.
not like a separate entity. So there's that power through.
Yes.
No reason the God source doesn't want me to thrive. Um,
Yes.
and I think that's really powerful. Oh, I know. When I healed myself, what was really apparent is most of the tools I used, or I couldn't use my brain that well because I had a functional neurological disorder at the time. But what was so apparent is all the things that came up for me, or you could say came down in downloads, however they came to me, were from
Mhm.
childhood, as if I already
Yes.
had the knowledge. It's none of my university studies or school studies or all the books or anything I'd learnt from professors or doctors doing the surgeries was what fixed me. What came to me was, Sky, right now you've just been homeless. You can't do much. If you had to use anything to get yourself well, you've got to do something. Drugs aren't working, alcoholism isn't working, you're bleeding from everywhere, your liver's failing. And I started to think how, as a little kid, like I thought, when was the best? When was I well? And I thought, it was always summer holidays. You're off from school
Yes.
for 6 weeks, you've got no shoes on, you're barely eating. You run
Yeah.
because you're so full of the energetics of life. And so I was thinking, well, it seems like the ground and the sun and the water, which I live around and near and grew up with, has to be something I need in my life. So
Mm-hmm.
that was something I put in. The other thing was, from such a young age, I was like, my dad never gets sick. Out of my
No.
whole, why does my
Wow.
dad never get sick? My dad always got up, and before doing anything, before looking after my sister and myself, he would go and exercise. He swam every morning, and then he
Wow.
would go fresh juice, always orange grapefruit for himself and my sister and I. If my sister and I drink,
Oh,
we want cereal, but
so glad you
he
had that in your life. That's such a
yeah, but
blessing.
I didn't see it. Like you don't see it, right? But
Yes,
then have
true.
he would have raw muesli with dried fruit and just raw nuts and a plant-based milk. He wasn't vegan, but this is how he lived his day. And he'd have like yogurt. Okay. That was the next meal. I think he'd get to work, have a small coffee, and then lunch was 2 salad sandwiches, which he didn't eat at lunch because he'd go running.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Yeah. So he'd go running or he'd do more swimming.
Yeah.
And then so he'd eat the salad sandwiches while he worked. Then he'd come home and eat what mum ate, which usually growing up was meat and veg. So there wasn't preservatives. It was mostly like, half the plate more of veg and then some sort of meat. And
Yeah.
usually during the week, he's still playing basketball at night. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
well, there must be something to this because I have his genes and he's
Yeah.
not getting sick. Like, I'm very closely genetically related to this person and he's never sick. So I'm like, and then the third thing that came to me was when I was in my early teens, I saw many naturopaths and nutritionists and doctors and stuff. But the only time I felt any major difference in my health was when he'd been a chemist, then he left that and became an osteopath and naturopath. And he said, for the next 2 weeks, all you're going to eat is veggies and fruit as
Oh,
much as you can. You can eat it cooked. You can season it with, it was called herbamere. It's still out there. It's like a herb salt or tamari. And every second night you can eat whatever you want. But the majority of the next 2 weeks, he said, I've seen arthritis go. He named all these diseases. So whoever came to him, although he had all this knowledge from pharmacology, he had all this knowledge from being an osteopath, naturopath, this was his thing. No herbs, no nothing. This is what you do. And at the end of and most of the time on the night I could eat whatever I want. I'd have a piece of salmon or something because when you're eating that healthy, it felt pretty gross to put like yucky stuff. And at
yeah.
the end of the time, I did feel much better. I didn't stick on it, but
Oh,
and these are the only 3 things that kept coming to me. And then it made me think how people on their healing journey are not listening to what they probably already know. And I was
yes.
so busy reading another doctorate or watching another YouTube documentary or some other book or
Right.
whereas when I couldn't read, I had the knowledge. Like,
Yes. We all
so
do. We all do. We just have fears, or people tell us you're crazy, or people say,
yes,
no, don't
I didn't
do
have anyone
that.
around me anymore.
And we
I
don't
was
trust
like, I can
ourselves.
sit outside all day and just eat my
Yeah.
lettuce and celery and a few nuts and nobody can tell me anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had on my journey, I've had people, like a man grabbed my hands and he told me I was a healer. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm not. How do you know that? And he said, I can just tell you're a healer. And then going forward, I've had people say, you're a shaman. And it was before I really started on the journey of helping people to heal. People would tell me that all the time, or they would say, I feel so good in your presence. What is it about you? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
You are like
And so,
that, Bella. You are
oh,
like
I
that, Bella. I
thank
come
you.
away from talking to you or doing this, and I feel like
Oh,
there's not even a way in physical reality to say how I feel. I feel like I've lifted up into different frequencies just by having you in my life. You're
that's
amazing.
so sweet because I feel that way about you. Like, I just absolutely
Oh,
adore you so much.
I
Oh my
love that.
gosh.
So
And
much.
I would literally play outside and see fairies, and I used to pretend to heal my dolls. But I don't know how I knew to do that. I know nobody taught me, and it was a long, long time ago before YouTube. I would watch YouTube videos on healing and things like that. But I would just imagine that they had aches or pains. I lost my dad at a really early age. And so I think maybe subconsciously I was always trying to like heal my dolls to heal him, possibly. I'm not really sure, but um, so
Which is a lot of
I,
what we see in the mirror, right? You might have been
uh-huh.
trying to heal yourself. Like you
Yes.
and that's like what I think of the raw foods is sometimes we
Oh,
need external
yes.
sources. Like we
Yeah.
can't do healing on ourselves. So we do it on a doll or we do it with cards or the raw
Mhm.
food. helps us because we just have been so disconnected. We cannot do it.
Yes, yes. And I can remember hearing my name being called and shutting all the psychic senses down because I thought like I was very clairaudient and I could hear and I could hear things and I could hear, I guess, spirits, and I was like, nope, no. I would get dreams and I just shut it all down for a long, long time. And then a, little by little, I started allowing it to come back, little bit at a time. And when I started on the raw foods, completely raw in 2022, that's when everything would come up again. But I was opening up to it because there's nowhere to hide when you're having raw. You are pure, you're right there. Everything is here. And so you just go through it. You don't like there's nowhere to numb. And I didn't even realize that I was numbing with foods. I didn't even if someone said that to me, I'd be like, you're crazy. I don't do that. I'm so healthy. But food cravings would come up and I would say, why am I craving this right now? And then I would just sit with it for a minute. Yes, I want cheese, and it would be like something from childhood, as you mentioned. So I think part of our journeys are healing our inner child. That is like one of my most profound sessions in my office that I do is inner child healing, because like from ages 0 to 6, that's where we're just sponges and we are just absorbing every thought and everything that's not even ours. So we're just a mecca of all the things that we've come in contact with as little children. And so working with our inner child super helps to clear us and helps us to be able to reach that spiritual realm. Because I believe, like you do too, like we all are a part of God. We're all an aspect of God.
Yes,
And
that's exactly how I see it. We
mhm.
aren't, as soon
Yeah.
as I that I'm separate from you, Marabella, or
Uh-huh.
separate from God, it's like I've severed something. It's like if I look at every person I speak to as just another version of myself, the
Yes.
level and frequency and the compassion is on a whole. Like, and also I'm tethered to this planet as well. So whatever happens on this planet is also a reflection of my consciousness. So
Yes.
that's why it's so important we all work on being the best version of ourselves. So my
Mhm.
responsibility is to raise the frequency of the planet because
Yes.
I am the planet. So that's why I sometimes get what does upset me is and I've been, when I first went across to vegan, it was for the animals. I was always eating paleo. I was much better in health, but it was for the animals. But it's really important that we don't still continue to do. I think sorry, let me rephrase that. When I went raw vegan, I don't just see the animals, I see everything. I'm like, by eating this is the best
Mhm.
option for my health, for the animals, for the planet, for the environment, for the air, for the future. You start seeing everything as a whole. And that, I think, is a really healthy place to start seeing things. But I also,
Yes.
when I make most of my decisions, especially when I was first healing, is they were all about me, because I realized how damaging I was to this planet and the consciousness and myself, but everything, because I didn't know how to love me. And
Yeah.
with that, I couldn't spend time with animals. I couldn't advocate for animals. I couldn't be around my family. And if I was always causing problems. The government was paying for my surgeries and for my disability. And I had to, and it's like that gas mask the oxygen mask on a plane is, there's no point putting it on a kid and the mother dying.
Right.
It's self-sacrificing that we've been taught is
Yes.
commendable, but it's not. Like, the best I've ever done for myself and for everybody else is by putting me first. And then
Mhm.
once you get the routine going, you can then
Yes.
go become greater. But I feel like to be a great healer, you have to learn to finally care for that little baby Sky, a little Sky that grew up where
Mhm.
everything was shut down. It's like, no, I'm going to make sure that for the rest of my life she's cared for first, so that everything that follows, you can help other people. But I
Yes.
remember when I spent a lot of time in hospitals as a child, weeks in children's wards. Now, my case was quite unusual, but in these wards, there's people there, little kids with cancer, there's little kids who have amputees, there's like all sorts of varying degrees. Children who've been in hospital for 10 months. It's, but I don't even know how I knew to do this, because it's not like I even knew what tarot cards were. I was quite little, like 7, 8, 9, is I would they'd have packs of like animal cards in the toy bin, in the toy room, the kids' toy room. I'd get the cards and do readings for all the kids. They'd come to me.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Yay.
Like the animal would come up and I'd be like, I'd see and I'd be like, you're strong. And all of this,
Yes.
like a little line would come up and I'd be like, this means you're strong. What do you see when you see this? And so being
Yes.
a natural healer, I think, is in all of us. It's just
Uh-huh.
how you see it, right? Because somebody else might be going, that's the devil working through you, they're devil cards. That could be something that comes up. Whereas it's like that freedom to explore and make and bring joy and happiness and help children going through hard times to see their
Yes.
strength, right?
Yes, yes. And it's like a lot of times too, when I would do a session for somebody, I would be working on the exact same thing with them that I needed to work on for myself. So through helping them, I was helping myself. And then I got to a point where I would feel so good helping others. It was like such a great, so my whole motto is I help you so you can help somebody else. And then we raise the vibration of the planet together. And I really believe that helping, but what you said is true too, also helping ourselves, loving ourselves, making sure that we have what we need so that we're healthy, so that we can help others. And
Yeah,
I just think it's like a circle. I'm helping you, you're helping me. It's like giving and receiving. I give to you,
100%.
you receive. You give to me, I receive. That if you need help, I help you. If I need help, you help me. I think it's all about that. And like you said, it's about us taking that responsibility for ourselves. If all we ever did was to heal ourselves, we would be helping the planet, doing all the things that you can do to help
And
yourself.
yeah, the person I am now around, for example, my nieces, right? So because I've worked on myself, I love myself, I put the raw food in my body, I exercise, I get in nature. When I see them, for example, on Christmas Day, I'm the one who they're like, oh, can we go down the front? And they couldn't when they're younger by themselves. I'm like, oh, come, let's go jump off the wharf. Lots of giggles. Let's go. We want some of the banana ice cream that you make. We want some of the watermelon pops. We want, that comes not
Yes.
because self-sacrificed or drilled into them. It comes
Right.
because I looked after me and loved
Yes.
me the way I needed, and they see that in
Yeah, they
me.
can feel
That
it.
brings, that brings them out in them. So
Yes.
that's what you do, is the more you work on loving you, looking after you, is people see that, and everything's a mirror, right? So if you've been
Yes.
doing darkness, is people going to see their dark in you, and that can not always serve you. I also notice anything that comes up with my clients or comes up in big ways in topics or comments is something I've got to work on or address in
Yes.
myself. Even if I'm not ready to face it right then and I get triggered, I give it 3 weeks and it'll be right at the forefront of what I'm having to deal with.
Oh,
So
yes. It'll come
that's,
around through a client, it could come around through a
yeah,
video, it could come around through a
yes,
conversation. It's coming out. Yeah. There's no
100%.
hiding.
That's right. Now, I have loved this, but I did, and maybe we can do this next week, because what I did want
Okay.
to do is how you, Marabella, do past life regression and get people to
Yeah.
talk their different realms and traveling, because that's what you do,
Yes.
right? Do you
Yes.
want to
Okay.
just explain, like, and
Yeah.
you're a hypnotist, and do you want to just explain your qualifications?
Yes. So I'm a clinically certified hypnotherapist. I do other things too, but one of the things I do is past life regression. And so with past life, I don't know if there is truly past life or not. I believe that, but I know a lot of people are skeptical. And so whether your brain is making it up or not, it's like the most healing session ever, because what I do is take you through a really deep relaxation process, it's almost like a meditation. It's called an induction, and relax you from head to toe, but it's very safe. You're still awake. You're just very, very relaxed. Mind is relaxed so that we can reach your subconscious. Your body is relaxed, super, super relaxed. And then I take you through a path, a guided pathway, and that might look like a chakra meditation. It might look like a walk in nature. It just kind of depends on what I feel would be right for you, or what kind of, like, after I have an interview with you in the beginning, I kind of get a feel for you. And then we go into a potential past life, and you explain it, and it might come through in symbols, it might come through in a vision, it might come through like a movie. However it comes through is just absolutely perfect for whatever we're doing with you. And we discuss it, and we see what happened in your past life. It's great if you have phobias, allergies, if you have anything going on in this life, we relate your past life to this life. Or if you just want to do it for fun, we just explore. Then I take you to the death scene, and we see what was going on for you over your life review, how you felt about your life. And then if you want to go back and change anything, we go back and change it, and you get your experiences, like what you learned. And then I take you through a death, but it's not really a death. It's kind of like a holding, where we get to meet your higher self, or where you're just in holding before you go on to your next life. And that is where the answers come. A lot of times things channel through you, and I do my best to write everything down so I can share it with you. Any messages that you have, any questions that you have that you need answered. So many amazing spiritual truths come through, like like, why are we all here? What is the truth? Divine masculine, divine feminine come through a lot. And then we go back again and see how you feel, or how you're going to use this in your life now, because we really want to connect what you learned in your past life to you today. Like, how is this going to help you? And then I bring you back. We discuss kind of what you went through on your journey. And each time that you go on a journey, it goes deeper, it's richer, you have more messages, deep healing can occur. Past life is great for healing. It's great for if you've got something that's just been bothering you and you cannot seem to solve it with traditional therapy, or if you're having issues with a certain person. It's such a great healing, and so many great answers come through. So,
And
yeah.
such a beautiful person.
Oh, thank you.
So I feel like we should cover this again, because I feel like we got into like the levels of mental health and some of our past and how these things come up.
Yes.
But I would love to get into how this is actually done and unpack some of that. So
Yes, I love that.
yeah, so we'll be back next week for the Raw Magic podcast. But I do want to advertise a bit here for the women's health podcast, which is tomorrow. And I'm so excited because hopefully you can come as well, Marabella.
Yes, I hope
all
so.
of us will be there. You've got Marabella, Tony, we've got Lissa, we've got Kiko, we've got JJ as a special guest, we've got Dulce, we've got me. We've got all of us together.
Oh, okay. I'll have to be there. Yes.
I have never been able to get all of us together all at once. And apparently tomorrow is the day, including JJ, who's now joining.
Oh, good. I can't wait to hear her story. I'm dying to hear her story.
Yes. So hopefully you will join in for that. If you want to look at the lives coming up, they are on my channel. I try to put them up on Saturday or Sunday each week for the following week. And I'm about to jump on now and do my weekly talk and make a recipe live.
Yay.
So
good. Love you so much. Thank
I
you,
love you
everyone, for being
too. I love you guys. Thank you so
here.
much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.